Welcome to episode 246 of the Center Ring Esports Podcast. This will be the best episode ever because we have a packed Call of Duty episode to get to you guys. CDL Minnesota, it was delayed a week for good reason, and so we're going to talk about that. It's a big one. You got the top 5 teams there. So we'll talk some CDL Minnesota. A legend in Karma retires. And, we're getting another BR game. But before we get to any of that, the Center Ring is brought to you by Alt. Check them out, altesports.com. They make the best esports apparel money can buy. It is super comfy, it is super soft, and you look good. I'm sitting at home before, and, Nuge, my style, it was whack, as the kids would say. They made fun of me. I walked down the street, and I would just get laughed at. And I was like, what's the matter? And my wife was like, you look like a damn fool. And I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm just being me. I'm just wearing my clothes. This is all I got. Well, my good buddy Nate, who I've known for a long time, was like, Tim, take this shirt. Change the world with it. And I put it on. I'm not kidding. My wife was pregnant. 9 months pregnant a week later. And now we have the cutest little baby boy you've ever seen. Now, if you're like, whoa, I don't want my girl pregnant, don't worry. That's not the only thing Alt can do. It can get your girl pregnant, but if you don't want it to, it won't. It's just that's the magic of Alt. Alt Esports. Maybe get your girl pregnant. That's their unofficial tagline. Check them out at Ultimate on Twitter, altesports.com. Go buy yourself a 101 Burglars hoodie and rep your boys, the Center Ring.
Hey, this is James Clayster Eubanks, and you're listening to the Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. This is episode 246, coming to you live and or pre-recorded. The date is June 10th, 2020, 9:04 p.m. Central Time. 10 days before my birthday, 2 days before Anuja's birthday, 1 week away from Anuja's future son's birthday, and about a week and a half from your anniversary?
Anniversary is about 15 days away, yeah, and wife's birthday is about 12 days away, so a little bit of a busy month.
June is a poppin' month for TCR. There is a lot going on in June. Kind of cool for you, though, because you get it all done in 1 month. Like, birthdays, anniversaries, everything. It's just done in a month.
We said, like, our future plan, because we wanted a child any month besides June. So, of course, it ends up happening, like, it all ends up working out in June. So that was a given. We said that what we're going to end up doing in June is it'll just be like one big trip.
Yeah.
And that'll like be something that covers like whether when they're younger is Disneyland, whatever, but just do like one big trip in June to like kind of celebrate everyone together.
Yeah, just everything.
Obviously we'll still do birthdays and stuff, and still do little things, but we thought that would be kind of a cool thing to encompass the whole month. Like,
just the June.
Why don't we just do something badass?
Yeah, kind of dope. I'm kind of jealous you get it all done. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at the Center Ring. Get all the latest show news and funny tweets, hilarious tweets at the Center Ring. If you listen on iTunes or anything else that lets you leave a review, go ahead and do so. Drop that 5-star review and say nice things. We love to read them. We do read them. So there's that. I don't know if that changes your opinion, but we do read them, so we appreciate it. And our website, tcr.gg, it's got all the other links you need. YouTube, subscribe, Discord, join in on the conversation. I got an itch to play some Valorant. I think we're going to play some Valorant this weekend. So We can 5-stack. We can get a 10-man going. If you want to just play some Spike Rush, that's my thing. Perfect for a guy with a spontaneous baby.
It's the 30-plus-year-old gamer mode for sure.
It really was made for the gamer parent. Like, if you're a parent and you're like, oh, I want to play Valorant, but I just don't have time, Spike Rush is like, at the most, I would say maybe 15 minutes. Maybe. Typically, though, I'm knocking that out in like 8 or 10 minutes. It's truly wonderful.
Quick 4-0s.
Yeah, it is really, and it's on the same maps. Like, this is something that we've always talked about Counter-Strike needing, was just like, it has casual and it has custom maps, so I guess there's that, right? But if I wanted to just play Counter-Strike, right, the way I feel like it should almost be a little bit alike. I want to play on Dust 2. I want to play on Mirage. I want to play on the maps I want, that I'm going to play on. They just need to cut it in half so I'm not here all day, right? So when my wife says, hey, sweetie, how much longer is it going to be? I'm about to divorce you. And I'm like, oh, you know what, babe? We're up 13-2. These bitches don't know what hit them. And then like an hour later, she's like, okay, well, here's the paperwork. I signed it. I'm taking the baby. Goodbye. Because my team sucks. And now we are down 14-13. And what was 5 minutes is now turned into an hour.
It's kind of funny how many times that's like a very, very accurate story. The amount of times where I've been like, oh, babe, I'll be done in like 10 minutes because we're just rolling. And shit hits the fan, dude. Like, everyone forgets how to play. It would be fun for Counter-Strike to have a shorter game mode game. Like, I don't count the 2v2 wingman as like that necessarily. It doesn't do it for me. Like, I don't get the same feel of that I'm playing Counter-Strike. So that would be nice. I think Counter-Strike should go back and just copy what they used to do and now what Valorant is doing in like the MR12 format, but discussion for another day, I guess. I think they should, though. It would be nice to have a similar mode. Speaking of Spike Rush, the only thing I would like different is I want to pick my weapon. I wish the randomness of, or I wish they picked weapons that people traditionally use.
Yeah, I don't mind the random weapons. I agree, even though it seems like in Valorant everyone uses every single weapon. But yeah, maybe just
getting the Odin is very infuriating for me.
It makes me want to punch a wall.
Yeah, just that round, I'm just go up to a door and I just start spamming out of annoyance.
I don't know. Maybe it would just be better just to give you all the money, right? Enough money to buy whatever loadout you want, and then just say, okay, go.
Give everyone just max money, and you just play a game with your best.
But I won't complain because, like I said, I can at least play Valorant. If I only have 30 minutes, I can get in and play, 2 or maybe 3 if I'm feeling lucky. Like that's all I ask. That's all I ask. Nice. It helps.
It allows you to still play the game.
Yeah. Yeah, because before I never could. I mean, that's half the reason I don't play Counter-Strike as much, just because you'll learn. In 1 week, you'll see. It's when you're like, man, Tim just is always far behind on WoW, and I don't know what he's doing. You're about to find out.
Transmog farm the whole time, okay, Tim? Tim is a transmog farmer.
Does that surprise you?
Chooses to not get geared quickly. You could be getting geared up, but you want a cool mount.
What's the point of having a high item level if you don't look cool?
So there is a lot of truth to that as well. So I can't hate on you too much because out of my group that I'm playing with traditionally a lot, I'm the transmog farmer guy. Like, I have almost every set.
Like, if I'm sitting here about to run a mythic dungeon in WoW, and I'm like, okay, you're at 460, this guy's at like 455. I'm picking the cooler looking armor.
Yeah.
Because I want that guy by my side. He's got some style. He's got some pizzazz. All right. This guy here, yeah, you're a higher item level, but you don't care. You don't care about the little things, the fine details. You didn't match and it's like the best is like when it's not even a full set, right? But you took the time to find what shoulder pad in your armory matches the same color scheme just enough. Doesn't have to be a complete set. I actually appreciate the non-complete sets. Show a little creativity in there.
Choosing a random cloak, I appreciate that.
Yeah, just a little bit here and there goes a long way. So you'll find out soon enough, because in 1 week you will have a baby, a babby. That being said, so show news is, I mean, it's pretty much, unless it happens earlier, next Wednesday will be when your baby's here. So we probably won't do a show that day. Unless you want to do it live from the hospital, I'll go.
I'm thinking I'm going to do a live stream. So I don't know if, I mean, obviously I can't take you into the hospital with me. So maybe it'll just be like me and my wife's vag. Like,
Listen, if we
on
could
camera.
get 400 views by illegally streaming BlizzCon when we were there and not knowing that we were illegally streaming, we can probably get at least a couple hundred for streaming your son's birth.
Easy. Easy.
So truly, I don't think it's ever been done on Twitch. If you just set it up in the corner and didn't show any like gross parts, why not? Like, would Twitch kick you off? That's uncharted territory. If Pokemon can get away with showing Pornhub on stream,
Surely, what if they're like, oh, my son came out, so he's going to be naked right in that moment? And
you know
then
what
boom.
is funny? But not funny like haha, but like funny and it's so stupid. You're probably right. It's so stupid. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Like they would honestly probably be like, oh well, there's
child
nudity.
pornography. Now we're going to charge you with, I'm going to get charged.
Now you're going to
and
jail.
I'm going to get banned.
You're going to jail. Probably not wrong. But if you
Or
were a
do
hot
that.
chick on Twitch, it'd be a completely different story.
Promote and get affiliated.
For real. G Fuel would sponsor you if that happened. Anywho, let's get into the topic of the show, because we do have CDL is back this week. They took a week off, so I guess that means we're gonna get 2 weeks in a row now, right? We're gonna get.
Is that how they're
Paris
doing it?
next
Are
week.
they doing it back to back like that?
Yeah.
Um,
One of the perks of being online is that you can actually do that when you're not worrying about travel. You can have back-to-back weekends, believe it or not.
be a little tough to go from Minnesota to Paris if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, a little bit. So we have Minnesota this week after it being postponed for obvious reasons with the whole George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, everything going on, Minneapolis being the heart of it all, right, being in Minnesota. So they decided, hey, let's take a step back and do this right. So long story short, that's what they're doing. As far as I know, I think it's all I've read conflicting reports. I've read just Minnesota Rocker is wearing special jerseys honoring the movement.
I think they all are.
They all are, right? Okay.
I believe they all
I
are.
read conflicting
And it's cool
reports.
because they're like dedicating the whole weekend to him and his family and obviously everything that's going on. So it's kind of neat because, like you said, they are supposed to be in the epicenter of what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Like all of this started in Minnesota, so it was only right that they find a way to honor the situation, right? Like not ignore it. I think ignoring it would have been a bad thing to do in this case, and so it is nice to hey, they're working it all in. They're trying to do their best, so I do appreciate that.
I will say it's a little, I mean, even for us, right, on the show, a tad uncharted territory for esports to kind of, because like we normally, this was left for traditional sports, right? It's like, okay, we'll leave it to the NFL to honor veterans or whatever, right? Esports, we just are going to be in our own little bubble and do our own little thing. But it's kind of branching both that serious life where we have to be mature and honor it and acknowledge it, and then
Esports needed to step out of its comfort zone a bit here because in esports, the racism in esports is not, in my mind, from the player side. It's the community issue, right? Like, especially in just online gaming in general. Take maybe the esports out of it. So it's good that it's being addressed in this scene because it needs to happen in gaming in general.
I'll even go a step further there and say, this is my opinion, is racist in gaming and esports, I think generally is not your hate racist, right? It's not your how do I say like KKK racism, right? Like that's like you are legit like a racist, right? At that point, KKK. I would say in gaming and esports, the racism just comes from straight stupidity. You're just a kid behind a computer thinking you are hilarious, right? I can put whatever I want in this Twitch chat and with 1,000 other people putting the same meme in there, and they just think it's hilarious. Not necessarily because they feel like, they're not. It's. I get it that it's a sensitive topic, but I think we can understand what I'm trying to say here. It's like
there's some ignorance behind what they're doing, right? Like they don't necessarily understand the consequences of what they're saying a lot of the time, and a lot of that has to do with age demographic, right? Like not everybody is 18 and older playing these games. You have a lot of 13, 14-year-olds. It's a copycat society. Somebody says something and kind of bandwagons in a lot in
Well, and then there's no punishment. There's no responsibility. You feel no sense
you
of
don't have a
responsibility.
name tied to yourself, right? You have like an in-game Spiffy. Who the hell's Spiffy? Like what are you going to tie back to Spiffy? Like nothing, And so, I think it's just good that it is being addressed. We thought it was seeing all the orgs initially come out. We were looking at it, and you and I were even talking, and we were like, hey, you don't see them do that usually.
Yeah.
Like you don't see them.
I think, was it Minnesota, the first org that said something about it? And I think I even sent you a picture of it saying, well, that's weird. Like I've never seen an esports org address like a huge social issue with a statement like that, right? Not something that didn't directly affect esports. But obviously just quickly followed. It's an interesting time. Definitely. Esports grew up a little bit, I think, right? Across the board, not just with Call of Duty, but just across the board, we've seen gaming, I think, grow up a little bit, and hopefully for the long run, just be a little bit more self-aware, right? We can all still have fun, but just be a little bit more self-aware of that fun, and I think it'll make a safer place for everyone, not just blacks and whites, but for gays and trans and women, and we've all said stupid things, and I think it's time to forgive, forget, and let's turn the page and be smart together. Okay? Teabagging is still on the table. I'm not going to back away from that. You can report me in Valorant all you want. I'm not backing down. Okay? These colors don't run from teabagging, Anuj. Okay? With God as my witness, if I still have digital nuts and you still have a digital face, I'm putting them on it.
I can't do anything but support you.
And that's all I ask in this relationship. That's all I ask.
I'll give you that.
All right. So coming up the weekend, though, I said it is a big one. This is possibly at the perfect time because we, after Minnesota, only have 4 more events that count for the standings. You have an all-star weekend in there if they still plan on doing that. But you have 4 more events after Minnesota before we hit the playoffs. And in this event alone, you have, 5 out of the top teams in the league here? So the implications, without saying, is ridiculous.
This is the tournament we've been waiting for. Like, it feels like everything has been leading up to this point, right? Because now it gave... with the last tournament we have, it gave Chicago an opportunity to win their second event, right? It was Chicago, wasn't it? I believe so.
Yeah.
Whoever it was. Yeah, it was Chicago. They won their second event, putting them in a tie with Atlanta and Dallas, all for taking two events each. This is like really, really important because it gives them bragging rights, which in most scenarios I don't think matter. In Call of Duty, bragging rights mean a lot because these guys enjoy the trash talk. It really motivates them in a different way. So I think in Call of Duty, I would say this tournament is huge. It really has a lot of implications there, and I'm excited to see. This is kind of post the change. There was a lot of changes that were made in terms to the MP5 getting nerfed, some of the movement stuff getting nerfed, and the auto tactical sprint and some of those changes that were made, some of the spawn changes that have now taken place. So this event is going to not only allow us to see these teams that we consider the best to be competing against one another, but we're also going to see how they've had to change their game, right? And if one of these guys stands out kind of amongst the crowd and who that would be. So I really think we're in for a good weekend. This is coming at a good time. I think the Call of Duty community needs this also right now. It's been a while since we've kind of had all of these teams competing together. I think it happened once early in the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but even then, it's Minnesota wasn't really contender, and Florida wasn't, didn't think too much of them. So maybe even once early.
Yeah.
Dallas, though, is coming into this. I think it's interesting, I guess. I was going to say Dallas is coming into this weekend cold because the Empire haven't played in, a month? Right? It's been a long time since they've played competitively, obviously scrimming in between. I wonder, though, if being home, with everyone being home and not having to travel to events and everything, I wonder if that's kind of just canceled out that month, right? Like the fact that everyone is a little stir crazy being at home and not really feeling like in the motion, right? The fact that this was delayed a week maybe put everyone kind of like hit that reset button, and now everyone's right back on the same page because everyone was ready to go last week and now they had to wait. So I've kind of talked myself out loud convincing that the break for Empire actually won't be that big a deal.
I agree to a certain extent because everybody's had a little bit of an unusually long break coming into this event. The last event was like 3 weeks ago. So all of these teams have had 3 weeks off, which is not a short amount of time. I know the Empire have had longer than that, but now everyone's also had a little bit of a gap. It's not like some team is coming in crazy hot from like just a weekend and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, riding into this tournament. Like everyone's had a little bit of a break now. There's been enough changes since those events have happened to where it's going to feel a little fresh, for the group. I think, you said Minnesota earlier is one of those teams that early in the season we didn't anticipate for them to be where they are. I'm really curious to see where they are this weekend. Are they a team that's going to be competing for the top, or are they a team that just got hot early and have nosedived since then and can't seem to find themselves since Corona hit? They've been a disaster online, and that's unfortunate, but it's not going to change the rest of the year in the sense we're not going back to LAN. This is going to be an online event going on from here. I think for them, it's equally as important as it is for the top 3 teams that they need to at least fare well in this tournament. Like they need to make it to the playoffs. They need to be that 4th team competing in the semis to feel good, good about their outcome. They don't have to win it, in likelihood they're not, right? They're not going to come out with the win. But I think it's very important that they play well. Like they can't get knocked out early, or they're going to just be looked at as a team that got hot. You built up some points, good for you. But hey, at the end of the season, when we're all in the tournament, teams 12, 11, 10, 9 are all going to look at you and say, yeah, that's a team we can beat. We're not worried about them. So, and you could say the same for Florida to a certain extent, although since Pristini has been gone, which has been a while now, I kind of ruled them out, like from being able to contend, unfortunately. They're lucky they built up points, but again, that's when we thought points were going to matter in terms of who qualifies.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody's worried about them in the bottom of the standings right now.
Yeah, and I like that you said that because you do have teams now where a roster move, like before, right before the playoff format was released and every team's now going to the dance, a roster move this late in the season, you would have been like, why? Like, why shake it up now? Just wait just play it out and do what you can, and then in the offseason, see what free agents you have to work with, right? Would have made sense. But now the fact that your team is going to have a chance in the playoffs to at least compete, right? Yeah, you might not get a bye week. You might be going up against a top seed in the first round and whatnot, but you get a chance, and that's all these guys need, right? That's all on this level, you just need that chance. Look at, which one was it? World War II? Where EG won? Was it World War II that EG won? Whatever Call of Duty, it doesn't seem that long ago, that EG ended up winning, and like they had like all year long, weren't a favorite or anything. So that's all you kind of need with this type of format. And so that kind of brings me to, a team like Seattle. Obviously, big changes coming into this event. You've had roster moves. You have Enable, which don't know if you saw the announcement, but he's benched still. They made the announcement just to let him know that, hey, by the way, you're still benched. You had Karma, an absolute legend, retire. And so now they picked up Who was it? Proto?
Yeah, Proto.
So they picked up Proto. And so you kind of have this event. If I was Seattle, let's keep your expectations realistic, okay? You're not going to win. You're just not. You might not even win a match. That's fine in my eyes. If I was Seattle, I would go in with that attitude. You just want to see improvement, though. You don't necessarily have to win to see improvement. I know that might sound crazy, but in this world where you know you're going to make the playoffs automatically, which I love that format. I'm not knocking it, right? I'm not taking away the importance of the regular season. It's still wildly important to place high. But at this point in the season where Seattle's at, winning is not as important as building the team chemistry.
Yeah, like I think in the first matchup they got phased, right? And so that's not an easy way to start. That's probably the worst way you have to start. And I think it's important that they just take a map. Like get a map off of phase. You don't need to beat them. You also don't want to see yourself get blown out in your 3 losses to them. You know, you want those to be closer games where you felt like you had a chance, but don't get 3-0'd, right? I think that for their mentality is going to be important. You know, the whole drama that's been going on Twitter with Slacked, you know, kind of being called out for his leadership, whether it was warranted or not, you know, that's happening right now. So they just have so much negativity around that team with so much star power that it still shocks me. Like we've talked about it every time we brought up the CDL. It's like, oh, I wonder if like Seattle can turn it around, right? You know, Apathy is still there, Slacked is there, Octane, one of the best ARs ever to play Call of Duty. Like they're all on this team and they haven't been able to figure it out. So again, you hope these changes do something. You're right though; they need to be competitive. Again, going up against Atlanta, let's not expect to win. Let's take a map and make it close. Like, let's show that we're here to compete. You just don't want to be 9 through 12. I mean, that's what you're shooting for right now, or 10 through 12 in the standings. When the season's over, you don't want to be 10th, 11th, or 12th. You don't want to go up against Chicago, Atlanta, or Dallas in that first round. Because if you can get a win, we've seen it in any traditional sport. You've seen it in esports. Think of like the CSGO major where, you know, Gambit and Immortals are making the finals. If you get hot and you get rolling, you give yourself a chance. That's going to be really hard to do if those are one of your first opponents in these tournaments. So 10 through 12 are really fighting, you know, to just kind of get up those 1 or 2 spots and get out of their way. Seattle's right there. They're 20 points back of being in 9th place. I mean, that's nothing in terms of what you can accomplish in these tournaments just by getting a couple of wins, right? So
Yeah.
No one's out of it. It's just you want to look forward to hopefully not having a first round matchup against a juggernaut.
Yeah, it's kind of neat just the way the standings have worked out because, yeah, the top is heavy, right? With Chicago, Atlanta, and Dallas all being within 30 points of each other, right? Dallas is at 150 with Chicago. Dallas is in 3rd with 150 points. Chicago's at 180 in 1st. That's with Dallas not playing the last 4 events. All right.
A lot.
They played in Dallas 3 events, excuse me. So they haven't played in 3 events. They're still only 30 points. So I mean that again, like that's why you have to look at that when looking at the points because you're like, oh, they're 30 points behind. They haven't played in 3 events. Chicago's
They're one
played in 2
event
of those.
behind Chicago currently.
Yeah.
Chicago's played in 1 additional event than both Atlanta and Dallas. So their lead, you take it for what it is. Like they've had an extra game so far.
Yeah, so the top is heavy, but yes, you're absolutely right. You have the drop-off is starting at 6th place, really, at 80 points with London. And then you have, I mean, up
Optic
until
at 70 and Paris and New York, both at 60. Those are the teams that are fighting to hang on, not playing one of those teams. And we're talking about 1 good tournament difference. That's all it is. So, yeah, I mean, for sure, a lot on the line for the bottom feeders right now because they're fighting for something. And then for the top dogs, like I said, I mean, for Dallas, you would love to see Dallas come out of this event the winner because of how their season has turned so much. Like I think they're one of the coolest storylines. Take away my Homer side of this, right? Just their storyline throughout the season. They were so hyped up coming in. The Crim 6 video, all the stuff that Envy did to build this Dallas Empire brand was pretty spectacular. There was a lot of hype coming onto this team. And then they kind of bombed in that first event, right? Like it didn't look good. Chicago kind of had their number early in this season, and they became a fraud in a lot of people's eyes. Now you're going into the third quarter here, whatever the last half of the season that we're running into, and Dallas looks like the front runner. So I want to know what Dallas team we have, right? Like this is an opportunity for them to really prove themselves and solidify themselves as the best team, because they've had it a little bit up and down. So to me, there's just a lot riding on it for them, even compared to a team like FaZe. Tim FaZe has been good in my mind all year.
Yeah,
so
they've been the one
slipped
constant.
Up, yeah, like if FaZe slips up in this event and gets second or gets third, I'm not going to look at FaZe as a bad team and be like, oh, they,
yeah,
I look at they had a bad weekend. I wouldn't say Dallas is a bad team, but I think it would be a little bit more telling if they finish below the other two teams, especially with the changes the Huntsmen have made.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think looking at here, who did they play first? Minnesota. So on the Group A side, you do have a chance to having Dallas and Atlanta play in just early second round. Again, we have yet to see the Chicago-Atlanta lineup against each other. We have not seen it. Now, rumor, the tinfoil hat theory is that the league colluded to make that happen, right? Because originally it was like they were. What was it originally? When the schedule was first made, they were never in the same weekend or something like that?
Well, yeah, they were never in the same side of the bracket on the same week, like in the weekend. And they only had like opportunities to meet each other in the finals. I think they had one chance to play in group play so far this year. If I'm not mistaken, Chicago lost the game, so they didn't get an opportunity to play, and that's why we haven't seen that matchup. But yeah, Atlanta FaZe, is going to be versus Dallas in that second round is going to be quite lit. Like that's going to be a hell of a game to watch, because Shotzi and these guys have kind of found their way. Like the young guns are kind of finding their way right now, and that's a little scary if you're Dallas.
Yeah, and then you have other guys in here that we haven't even mentioned with LA and Toronto, which unfortunately, it's just, when you're at these type of weekends and everything, it's just, you are going to be the afterthought. You're going to be the afterthought teams here. Toronto
to me has like upset potential. Like they're one of those teams that has like a young core. I really believe like they're better than where they're placed right now, at least standing wise. What are they? They're 10th or 11th place. Yeah, and that's obviously rough. Like that's not where you want to be. But I do think that their core of like methods, Looney and some of these guys, like they have an opportunity to like be better than they are, and it wouldn't surprise me if they maybe caught an upset win somewhere here and there, because they've been close on a lot of their games. Kind of like Subliners in that sense. Like Subliners is like close, right? Like they're so close to being a good team. Now they're not in this event, unfortunately, but it's another team that's like a kind of a bottom feeder that I've enjoyed watching, because they're not that far away from figuring it out. And so Los Angeles, they've been kind of bad all year, so it's hard to see any fortune taking place for them. But it's stacked, dude. Like the Chicago Prestini move still blows my mind. Like that move, still thinking about it as a fan, coming from a fan's perspective, like irks the hell out of me. Like that happened.
Nothing.
Like it was a trade deadline move. It was like the Warriors getting like Kevin Durant. It almost felt like that a little bit, because they got him for nothing. Like they just had to pay him, right? Yeah. And that's really what it came down to. And so seeing where Chicago places this weekend, they can really build confidence. That will be a very cocky team if they come out of this first at the end of the weekend.
And we mentioned earlier that Karma will not be attending this event because he's recently retired. Talked a little bit about it last episode, but I did just kind of want to take the moment just to kind of, for him to have that moment on the show, because it really is. Like, he is a legend in Call of Duty. I mean, he's part of the Optic dynasty, right, back in the day. And even then, just last year, they played very well. They got first in the league. I think an incredible player, right? If we did our Call of Duty Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame. But what a way to end your career in such a whimper, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, again, I said it last week, and it's one of those things where, who knows? Like, the next Call of Duty comes out, and it's a hell of a game, and
Man, I don't
he
think
wants
so.
to jump back in. I think he'll get an opportunity to do
He
so.
would
I mean,
get an
the dude's
opportunity. Absolutely. And, that's why this is like the safest retirement in the world, right? Because if he wants to come back at any moment in time, all he has to do is say the word, and he'll have half the league lining up to call him to try him out. He's only 26 years old. So it's not like he's, I guess in Call of Duty years is old, right? But I mean, Clay, I think, just turned, 28, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 29. So it's not like he's completely out of the realm of signing and everything. I think, though, he is done. Because his statement, I mean, he hates Modern Warfare in general, but I've never seen a player who has had such a successful career and should have so many fond memories of a game, of a franchise, and say, I feel sorry for anyone who still has to play this game. And that's talking not just from Modern Warfare. I think that is talking about dealing with the ecosystem of competitive Call of Duty and the absolute shit show that it has turned into. Like, it's from a fan perspective, I get it that we don't really see it as much. It's super fun. But even from a podcast perspective that we kind of have to follow it to know what's going on, I can only imagine if I was an actual pro trying to follow it.
Do you like it better now or how it was?
Like, franchise compared to whatnot?
Like, we're almost through the first season, so like
I will
so
say
far.
I like it. I think I like it more now, mainly just because we've heard just horror stories before, like in the game battle days, where you had the number one team having to compete in scrub ass game battle matches to earn points because the league did not recognize them as any different than any other team. They're like, nope, you got to earn your game battle points if you want to qualify. And so that was
They're
all
having to do
part
those
of it.
weekly games to play. Yeah, I like it 100 times more now. 100 times more because we have a solidified league, right? Like, I know where these players are when transactions are made. Like, it's a lot easier to follow for us. I think Karma leaving now, I just I wish he had a little bit more time in the league. I understand that he hates. I really think it's a lot of hatred for this game. Like,
Look,
it's
it
almost
was a
how I feel
perfect
like
storm.
you would talk about if we had played 6 iterations of Counter-Strike and the next one really sucked and you were bashing it. You might say, oh, I hate everything about Counter-Strike because you hate that game. But I know that you had fond memories of Global Offensive in 1.6. Like, I know that, right?
Yeah.
We know he's had fond memories of, like, a lot of Call of Duty games. And Black Ops was, I think, one of them for him. Like, it's not like he played that on stream more than anyone I could remember. And he was playing, like, Blackout and stuff. Like, he didn't have to do that.
Right.
So there's, like, I think a lot of that is just emotion right now for being on a shitty team.
Yeah. It's the perfect storm.
Yeah, it's a game you don't like, and now guess what? You're scrimming with a team that sucks in a game you don't like. Like, how much fun is that? Like, it's not a lot of fun. And so, look, this guy's a legend. 24 major championships. Tim, I just want to read you some of his stats if you don't mind. 24 major championships. He is the first one of 4 players, obviously, to win the first ever Call of Duty championship back in 2013. Was the first of 2 players to win back-to-back championships. He is the only player to win 3 championships. Highest earning console player. Like, the dude's resume is insane. If he wants to step back in, he can. If this is it, like say la vie, like we love you, dude. You've been awesome to the sport. He's been a great ambassador. He's a gamer dad. Like there's so much to love about Karma, and so it is sad to see his exit happen this way. Like he deserved it to be on a bigger stage. Like the Kobe farewell, the Dirk farewell, like he deserved to kind of go out in a little bit more of a legendary status rather than like a twit longer that we got, and that kind of sucks.
If the league really wants to make it right, do they go to Seattle? I mean, they're not doing.
They just did Seattle, actually.
Yeah,
I think
so. They're not going to be doing anything anyways in person. The next in-person event, they need to do something. It doesn't necessarily have to be with Seattle because he was on that team for such a short amount of time and he had such a bad time there. I don't think he really even gives a shit, right? Like, he probably doesn't feel any connection with the city or the team.
If they do an all-star event, he should be playing in it or do something there. Like, that would be cool to me.
Yeah, but something. I think, and it's also like your league is young, right? You have a lot of new fans, I think, now with the franchise and everything play. I think they need to honor the guys pre-franchise, honor those guys during the MLG days, the CWL days, because this is what, without Karma, you would never get to this point and having people pay, upwards of $20 million to own a franchise spot. Yep. It just wouldn't have happened without, I hate to say it, but the Optic and all those guys playing. So I will sell this if Karma listens. Feel free to come on the show. If you need a safe place to bitch about Call of Duty, I mean, there's no safer place than TCR. It's just it's probably the most positive we've ever talked about Call of Duty on the show. Not because we don't like it, but because we love it, and we just really want to make it better. It's a very deep-rooted love-hate relationship. When you've played a game since you were 12 years old, and now I'm about to turn 30. You feel that way. You feel it. Speaking of making the game better, it has been recently reported that the new Call of Duty, whatever it's going to be called, is going to have some iteration of Blackout come back. So we are going to get another BR. This is what I was fearing with Warzone, right? The fact that Warzone is so wildly popular. I mean, just it almost feels like it picked up like a second win, doesn't it? Like,
what were you fearing? That we would see another BR?
Just the fact that, Warzone is the number one BR, right? And everything. But it's going to get the same fate that every other Call of Duty has.
Yeah.
And just get the old Yeller treatment. And Activision's going to take it out back. And it's going to be like, Daddy, where are we going? And he's just going to say, look at the flowers. And then just pop him one, right? Like, I think it's just
everyone will switch over to the next one because that's the game that they're actively playing at that time. There's perks to level up. There's like different reasons to just play the BR besides playing the BR.
Despite Warzone
right?
being the most popular Call of Duty edition ever, making the most money through skins, everything, Activision will put that bitch to bed.
Yeah.
And then they'll move on to the next shiny toy.
We talked about this briefly off air, and it was, to me, this is the one genre where I like the yearly releases. I don't find myself like getting overly addicted to BR games in the way that some people do. I'm sure there are a lot of them out there. Actually, I shouldn't say maybe, like there definitely are, but BRs get old to me relatively quick, especially when the changes that we get or stupid ass contract changes like you had mentioned, or hey, we're changing the price of some of this stuff, or some of these guns are getting modified. Like, I want to see like map and design changes. This is why Fortnite is beautiful for what they do, right? Like, it's such a smart idea to keep your fan base engaged by having events that completely alter the direction of the map. It changes the play style. Like, it does so much, whether you like Fortnite or not. It's basically a Call of Duty game that gets changed every like 3 or 4 months, right? And so I like the fact that a new BR is coming out. I also understand the fact that it'll kill off this one. So even if the next one sucks, I'm probably not going to be able to hop onto this one and even get a lobby at some point like you can't do with Blackout right now. We've
We
tried.
We
So
tried.
yeah, like it's not possible. That'll probably happen here. But this is that genre that I'm okay with it. I hate that it happens on the competitive side. I would like to see maybe a 2-year cycle or something
Yeah.
for the competitive side. But if you asked me right now, like I'm glad that it's not, because I don't really like this game either. Like I think it's okay. Like
Yeah.
it's not
I mean,
terrible. It's just it's okay.
I've had such a little drive to play. I mean, you know me and BRs. We don't get along anyways. So take everything I say with a grain of salt on here because I just don't like them. But I agree. If there was one thing that I need a little fresh coat of paint every once in a while, BR's the one way to do it. Now, that being said, believe it or not, you don't have to release a whole new game every time, right? Like, there's a very simple solution here. And Activision, you can use this tip for free. You already have the map cut out in blocks, right? It's simple. You already have set locations like stadium, downtown, dam, whatever. I'm sure it's possible, right? You pay guys a lot of money to think of how to do this technology-wise, to have a randomly generated map where you have your set hexagon points, right? Your cities and whatnot, and then each time they just spawn separately, and then you randomly generate the hills and whatnot to fill in the gaps.
Like you're saying, like the same point of interest in different locations.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I think yeah,
of
like,
it almost
and
like
for me, anything to change the map up
like
is a
board
good
game,
thing.
right? Like with a board game like Settlers of Catan, like that's how it works. So you have the hexagons, and then each time you play, you're setting it up differently. Like just have something like that with a BR game to keep it up. And again, I think we're speaking to the minority here because it's still like millions upon millions upon millions play Warzone every single day.
I assume most of those people are console players though, and they don't have a shit ton of gaming options. Like that's my honest belief. If they're looking for a competitive BR game, they don't have a ton of options. Like it's kind of modern Warzone or whatever the hell Warzone or like nothing because it's
Like,
free to play.
man,
like
you are turning into a dad. Get off your modern Warzone there, kids.
It's like it's free to play. It happened during Corona. It was like the perfect firestorm for this game to ignite. But I do not understand how you could play the same game, drop at the same point of interest 5,000 times. Like I don't get it. Like I don't see the appeal to do that over and over and over and over again. Like I really enjoy it for like a couple of months. Like a couple of months, like 2 months, maybe 3. Like, yeah, this shit's fun. Like, let's get on. I'm playing with my homies. People on different like PC console. We all get together and like get to do this a little bit, which we don't get to do often. And I enjoy it for that period of time. But then I'm like over it real quick. Like once it's gone, out of sight, out of mind. Like I went back to a 20-year-old game just now because I was like that done with it. I was like, I don't care to play anymore. And so yeah, I'm okay with the fresh start. I think that's good for Call of Duty in this case because the fan base will carry over. It'll do well. Blackout was a cool BR with some really crappy issues early on that like stopped it from being a great game. Then I think they fix some of that down the line. So hopefully they've learned their lesson and we even get a better BR game than we have now. Blackout's a cool franchise too. So it's supposed to be, rumors are Blackout Cold War. There is a alpha actively going on PlayStation right now. We may get some more info tomorrow, which is the PS5 reveal for those of you that are interested. So the PS5 reveal is tomorrow. I forgot it one time. Just Google it, check it out. Might get some information there, but Call of Duty is also doing a meeting, like a shareholder type meeting where they're going to go over the next franchise. So a lot more information is about to come out on Call of Duty in the upcoming days, like not even too long here.
Yep. Perfect. And we already said last time that Treyarch is the company behind this one, and they are already actively talking to pros about how to handle the competitive scene. So hopefully we get right out the gates with competence and everything there. So one can hope. One can hope. All right, so there it is for Call of Duty. A big Call of Duty show for everyone. So if that's your thing, congratulations. We don't do it a whole lot, but you know what? Having the top 5 teams in the league competing in one weekend will just about do it. That will warrant our attention. So congratulations. Let's get in to some e-news, shall we? As I pull up my notes. A little bit to get to here. With CSGO, we have G2 make the finals of DreamHack Masters EU. It's amazing.
NA is actively going on. G2, they played big in the semis, which was like, it's kind of been an interesting bracket the way it's worked out. G2 2-0'd Navi, then they 2-1'd Big, and now they're sitting in the finals. Big is awaiting the winner of Navi Mad Lions, I believe. Don't quote me on that. It is Navi and Mad Lions and FaZe or NIP. So a couple of big names there in the losers bracket that's going to take on Big to play on Sunday. So the finals will be Sunday. We'll probably be getting into some of that talk as we get there.
So it was only a matter of time before Valve spoke on it, but 7 teams were handed ultimatums by Valve over the ownership conflict. Of course, this came up in Road to Rio, I think.
Yeah.
MIBR
Florida Spawned was the first Road to Rio games that were coming out.
Yep. So MIBR, of course, has some ownership and it's actually all across the board because Get Right still has some ownership or stakes with NIP. Of course, he plays for Dignitas now. Who else?
Tommy has ownership in ENTS, and he's tied to the Immortals Gaming Club or whatever they're called now. So he's like the GM of the Immortals Gaming Club, but he has ownership in ENTS. MIBR, like half the old team owns like Coldzera on FaZe. So FaZe was given, obviously, as part of this ultimatum. Evil Geniuses have Zeus as their head coach. He's a part owner. MIBR have Taco and Dead, who are part owners. They don't have say in how the team operates, but the fact that they are owned by another team that's competing in the event, like, look, this was going to happen. What did they think was going to happen here? Like, I'm surprised it took Valve so long to come out and say something, but they got something they have to work out a solution here fairly quick, because I don't think Valve is going to let this drag on and have this become a topical issue right before the major, right? Like, they're going to want this resolved, close the door, moved on from it soon.
Esports is riddled with conflict of interest across the board, right? Whether it be owners dating players, talking heads dating members of the league and teams when you're all working for the same people, owners owning, players owning teams that you're competing against. Like, in what world does that happen in? Esports is crazy, man. It's just crazy, the problems we have to deal with. The first tier 1 player, or T1? Did I read that properly? Tier 1. Okay.
Tier 1. Yeah.
First tier, you never know. First tier 1 player makes the switch over to Valorant.
Loosely, right?
It's tier
loosely,
1.
I know what you're gonna say.
Tier 1
it's from Tyloo Gaming. It's Zeta is making the switch over to Valorant. This game is going to be huge in Asia too. Like, we know that Valorant's going to be huge over there, and Tyloo has been in the same spot for 4 years now, which is like good enough to keep winning, the Asian qualifiers, not good enough to compete on the world stage. So again, don't blame them for making the move, but I think that really is like the first, again, depending on what we classify as tier 1, like it's the first player from a big name org making the switch. It's been a lot of free agent type players moving, or people that are looking for, orgless players making the switch, retired gamers making the switch, but nobody necessarily from what would be considered a top tier team, and that just happened.
Do not think he will be the last Asian player to make that switch.
No, Tyloo Gaming will be a Valorant team in a few weeks.
Yeah, definitely can see that happening. And last but not least, for CSGO, the Copenhagen Flames are fielding offers for their CSGO roster. Don't know who's going to buy them. Good luck.
I mean, they're not a bad roster though, honestly, and they've gotten into some events and they've qualified for some events. So it's like it's not a bad team to pick up.
I'm just
the
saying,
whole question is, what are you asking for?
it's just a bad market to sell a CS:GO team. Not saying they're a bad team. It's just it is a buyer's market, if you will.
Well, teams are not, if they're looking to buy a team right now, it's not for this game.
Right.
At the
That's
moment.
exactly my point.
They are not getting into, people are not getting into CS right now.
If I'm an org looking to pick up a roster, I'm not looking at picking up a Counter-Strike team. Except for Copenhagen Wolves, they still, what were they in? They were in Flashpoint, no?
Yeah,
so they
I
might
think
at
so.
least they at least have a league spot, I believe.
That's huge. That makes them, unfortunately it's the wrong league, right? But they have a league spot
on the EU side. So that also is a plus, right? And you don't want to buy an NA team, I would think. EU is a little bit more appealing in the sense of that, but so we'll see. We'll see what happens with the gang. Or if they'll just retire and go play Valorant. Probably that. Overwatch makes yet another change to the upcoming format for their summer event. Now, I get it. You're gonna, it's a work in progress. But for the love of God, if they make another change to the hero pool format, Anuj, I don't know if I'm going to cry. I don't know if I'm going to get upset. It's nonstop. They have a wheel
track
in the office, and they just spin the wheel, and whatever it lands on that day, they say, all right, this is the new format.
I'm so lost with the Overwatch League right now, Tim. Like, my mind is just...
It's a pretzel.
Unfortunately, it's just not been there with them. And I hate to just even throw that out there because we're an esports show and we talk all the esports, but these guys have made it so difficult to give me an enjoyable product as of late. And it's so hard to keep up with what's going on and who's retiring and Vancouver Titans like blow up and Sinatra leaving. It's just been one thing after another. Look, these changes could be good. It's just more changes, though, is what I'm saying. Like, it's just been every week. It's like they're doing something to slightly tweak it. And I get it, but like let's start to pile some of these together and get it right sooner rather than like going into the end of the season.
And I'll say this, if you're like a newer listener, right, within like the last year or so, we're not like an anti-Overwatch League podcast. In fact, we were very heavy Overwatch. I played that game for hours every single day for 3.5 years. We've been to every single Overwatch League finals. We cover them here in Dallas. We go to all their events. I love the guys within the league, right? We have friends in the league. We got players that we've made friendships over in the league. I want to see it succeed. It's not like I'm one of these Counter-Strike talking heads that hate it just because it's Overwatch, right? But this year has been a rough spot. We've hit a rough patch. No one needs next year to happen more than Overwatch League. And they need to come in with a plan, right? And if you're going to make changes, like give yourself the mid-season break to make those changes and have it announced saying that, right? Say, hey, if there's going to be any changes directly affecting the format, we're going to do that. We have like set up 2 spots in the year that we are going to do that. Because you can't keep doing it.
It wouldn't surprise me before the finals if we're playing Overwatch 2 and that's the next change.
Just right before the finals, here's
like
Overwatch
right before
2.
the finals, hey guys, next change, we're actually playing Overwatch 2.
So
that needs to happen for season 4, honestly, or whatever season we're going into. I think it's season 4.
Yeah.
That needs to be the big change this off season. Is Overwatch 2 needs to come out. Like it really needs to happen and make it a fresh start for everybody. Like give yourselves an opportunity to go in that, do your tweaks right now, figure out what works, what looks good, how the fans like to see it, how the players like to play it. Start there with Overwatch 2.
Just exactly copy the Call of Duty League. Copy their bi-weekly tournaments with a point system. It makes it so much more entertaining and easier to follow. Here's their recent note if you don't mind me reading. Beginning June 13th, the Overwatch League will utilize a single hero pool for the first 2 weeks of each tournament cycle, which consists of 3 weeks of qualifier matches and a tournament weekend featuring bracket play. Hero pools will not be used for the week before each tournament or during tournament bracket play.
I had an opportunity to take my headset off there because you said so much. I did not follow you.
I need someone smart to create a flow chart on what the hell this new format and rule change is.
There needs to be a solid explain it to me like I'm 5 underneath that.
I mean,
Like, give me an easy little breakdown of what the hell's going on there.
That is just a mouthful. And to think like this isn't just the one time. It's like, it seems like every time it's different. So it's nuts. But, we're looking forward to next season. What can I say? Call of Duty, again, one last thing here. We actually forgot to mention it, talking about all the new stuff. But Season 4 launched for Warzone. So if you're into that, congratulations. In other news, we have 2 actually big ticket items to discuss. Barstool, if you know who they are a widely successful sports blogging, cultural blogging website. I'm actually a huge fan of. I'm a stoolie myself. Not for everyone. I get it. I understand. But I enjoy me some Barstool. They decided to dip their toes into the esports water and create not a podcast, go right into having their own team. So now that it is called the Barstool Hooligans with a Z, because you can't be esports without spelling a name wrong. And apparently, I don't know what direction it's going to go, because right now the only quote unquote players are just the people up there who own an Xbox, it seems.
Like who worked there.
Yeah, hey, you own an Xbox, you play Warzone, you're on the team. So I don't know. In the teaser, Smitty was talking about, we might own a Valorant team. We might own League of Legends. Who knows? I don't know.
I think their plan is to make it like a proper org in terms of competing in these games. But at what level?
That's what I'm saying.
Is it going to be tier 1? Is it going to be tier 2?
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be like the people that work there competing in all of these games.
I think this will be a subsidiary. Like, it will eventually turn into, like, they'll still use it for their social platform, right? It will be almost like I don't even know, like a Optic-esque, right? Where it was like it started out as content first and then kind of morphed into this machine of what
kind of like FaZe.
FaZe, yeah. 100 Thieves, right? They kind of all started off with content in mind first. Probably you seeing that, but still, I'll say this in Discord and I'll say it again. For a site where Barstool used to shit on esports, like every other sports website, right? They used to shit on esports. It is cool to see them turn it around, right? I'm not going to say, hey, shame on you for realizing it now. I'm going to say congratulations for realizing it now and turning it around. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to Smitty for making it happen. I think it is a huge win on the esports world side to have someone like that in your corner. And I think it's going to bring in a lot of new people. So perfect time for an esports podcast. So if anyone at Barstool is listening, I mean, we're available.
Just saying. Just saying.
The DMs are open. Feel free to slide in them. TCR presented by Barstool has a nice ring to it. So we can make it happen. Barstool Esports. I'll change the name. I don't care. So make it happen. Maybe, if you're a listener and you want to just hit them up, tag us. I probably wouldn't hurt, right? Any little bit counts on that one. So, but I would be a blast to kind of make it a little bit more official on their esports side. I think they need that little serious esports fun time podcast. So I feel like, maybe. Another serious big ticket item, though, and it's the last but not least for e-news, is we saw a big player leave the Rocket League world, Anuj, as Cloud9 announced that they are no longer having a Rocket League team, releasing the legendary Muffin Men as Squishy Muffins I mean, all three of them are gone, right? Cloud9's dropping their Rocket League roster. So Squishy Muffins was announced. He is joining NRG. And Turbo is no longer with NRG. So right there, two very big moves in the Rocket League world.
Seeing C9 leaving is a little sad because they've been a staple of the Rocket League community for a long time.
Especially for NA, man. So they won, what, Season 6? Was it that they made that legendary one and they won? But ever since then, I feel like they haven't been the same.
What do you have left of C9? Like, what are you rooting for, just out of curiosity? Don't mean that in a negative way, just in general. Like, what are you rooting for with C9 nowadays?
Mango. You still got
Okay.
Mango. I am rooting for Hope. Like, honestly, that's... Well, okay, their
Like
League
the
of Legends...
USA goalkeeper?
Of course, their League of Legends team is really good, right? But I'm not
Like
the biggest League
but you don't follow
fan,
League.
so that
Yeah.
kind of shitty for me, right? I'm a Cloud9 fan, and the one game they're really good at, I'm not a huge fan of. So I think right now it's just hope, right? It's hope that they're going to sign a bomb-ass Valorant roster. Hopefully, Tens can pull a little bit of his early CSGO days and make that a little bit more consistent. But yeah, it's weird to see, and a lot of people are saying like they were surprised to see Cloud9 go in Rocket League. You know, again, they haven't been performing well, I should say. It seems like that roster was about done with each other anyways from just body language that I could see. But I think this is also just another one of those effects from Valorant, right? Some of these orgs got to move money around, and if one isn't bringing in the money that they need, Valorant roster.
It's shocking to me that they were not profitable in Rocket League. Unless the salaries have jumped up enough to where it's like putting them in the red.
Salaries
three-man
might have jumped
roster,
off.
like-
You know, who knows? Maybe Corona really hit them hard too on that sense because like the league finals were completely canceled last. You know, the one
Yeah,
they
but
were supposed
if
to.
anybody
be
could have survived Corona, it would be the most valuable organization in all of esports, right? Like, surely.
Well, the most valuable organization in esports probably also offer a big paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, again,
So,
it's just surprising
could be
because
a
Rocket
double-edged
League
sword
has
on that
always
one.
been one of those games that you and I have talked about. That's like, hey, if you wanted to get into esports and find success without giving away an arm and a leg, like Rocket League may have been that game, right? And so to see them walk away from it, even if it is to get a Valorant roster, like a Valorant roster is not going to be cheap. I get that. Obviously, with who they're most likely looking to get, which we don't know yet. It's just surprising that Rocket League got the boot.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, big player to exit the Rocket League world, but at the same time, an even equally big player picking up Squishy Muffins with NRG. So clearly, it's not like all abandoned ship. It would be more concerning if they just cut these guys and none of them went anywhere. But the fact that Squishy was able to get pulled up so quick, it's like, okay, so there are still serious players in here that are going to take it serious. So yeah, and
Rocket League
NRG.
is like huge. I feel like I have such a good casual game in that sense of like, again, we always talk about people being able to watch it. Like it's very easily, casually watchable. You don't even have to be in depth watching. You can even be glancing and just pick up what's going on right there and then. So I hope they continue to succeed because it is just a nice little buffer to our esports portfolio.
Yeah, I enjoy me a little bit of Rocket League here and there. Just like I hope you enjoyed this episode. Because it's done. Thank you so much for listening. It's episode 246. It's in the books. Thank you so much again. Whether you skipped around, listened to the whole darn thing, love you. Follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. This is the most important time to do so. Because we're on Baby Anuj watch. It could happen. It could be happening right now. For all we know.
I turned my phone off. I told her I'm in the show.
I appreciate that. I'd expect nothing less. Nothing less but professionalism. Hear that, Barstool? Nothing. You get the best here, okay? But for real, the baby could be here any moment now. So maybe we'll do a show Sunday. Maybe we'll do a show Wednesday. You just got to follow us on Twitter so you know. Maybe I'll get a big guest. Who knows? Maybe I'll get Ninja while you're out.
That'd be great. I'll text him for you.
Thanks. If you can
Doesn't
hook
he have
that
a cell phone on his thing where you get the automated response?
up. Yeah. Just get that for me.
I'll hit him up there.
Appreciate it. I don't know what we're talking about next episode, man. We'll figure it out. It's esports. Plenty of drama to go around. For Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.